With DNA testing revealing The Rock has many half-siblings and more, this is Wrestling Hub. My name is John and you're watching the Wrestling Report for June 30th. Before we get into the rest of the video, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Hub and turn on all notifications to stay up to date with everything in the world of pro wrestling. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Wrestling Hub Official and follow us on Twitter at Wrestling_Hub. Talking to Chris Van Vliet about Vince McMahon wanting to make him an executive in WWE, former star and producer for the company Road Dogg said, "To be totally honest, there is not one, there's a million. That's why people say, oh, you're not bitter. I got 10 years of life experience flying on the jet, getting in limos with him, riding, listening, and learning." One thing he said to me one time, and I'll never forget it. I came to him and said, "So-and-so wants to say this in a promo, but that's not what we wrote. Are you cool if they say that?" He said, "Does it get the same point across?" "Yes, sir." "Yeah, Brian, do that. It empowers the talent, and then they'll have more trust in you." He told me that on a one-on-one basis. Sometimes he writes your promo, and that's what you say if he can't fully trust that you're going to go out there live on the television show and act accordingly and do your promo. He doesn't know if he can trust you yet, so you say it verbatim. You sit under that learning tree. Sometimes you sit under it until 3 in the morning, but you learn stuff, little stuff about the business, and not just about the business, but how to be a professional and be an executive. He had somebody coming to the office once a week from Carnegie and teaching me how to be an executive. He wanted to make me an executive. It was on me. I couldn't handle it. To work with that man is difficult. It's not difficult because of how he is. It's not difficult because of how he is. It's difficult because of who he is. He's a workhorse. He will work all night and be the first one up in the morning to work again. He's a workhorse, and I couldn't keep up with it. That's the truth. I went to him and said, "I feel I'm losing my serenity, my sobriety. I'm white-knuckling my sobriety because I'm on call all the time. My whole life was SmackDown, and that's how you have to be in WWE. You're married to it." It got hard, and I couldn't hang. I went to NXT, where I thought I could stay for a while, and I did. But then they made business decision to trim some fat, and it's no secret, I've gotten fat. They cut me and 14 other people. It was a business strategy. I called him and said, "Hey, thank you." Not only did he pay me for 10 years and give me 10 years of life experience, but he sent me to rehab for free. He saved my life, and he did the same for my brother. You're bitter at that guy? Something is wrong with you. He's a great leader. He's a leader of me, that's for sure. For the Blood and Guts edition of this week's AEW Dynamite, the Wrestling Observer pointed out why it took so long to announce matches for the card. There were a lot of people who were not available for the show because of COVID. That's why they did not announce the show until pretty much today, other than the Blood and Guts. I don't think they had any matches until this morning. I think they may have had the Jade Cargill and Layla Gray match. They had almost nothing. They announced the Christian Cage interview, but they didn't announce much of the show ahead of time. They had to redo whatever it was. The show was being put together late because of fears and things like that, so that's why some of the matches, like if you look, besides the Blood and Guts match, the matches themselves are not the usual, like Jade Cargill and Layla Gray, you know, although there was a reason for that as it played out. With it recently noted that Dark Order member Alan Angels was no longer with AEW, he has now released this statement. "As of June 30th, my AEW contract has expired. I am nothing but grateful for the 2 years I spent there. I love AEW. It was and is the best place to ever work. I got to wrestle some of the best wrestlers in the world on a weekly basis, as well as travel to some of the most amazing cities and meet some of the best fans in the world. There are no hard feelings between myself and AEW or Tony Khan. I had a great time in AEW and would have loved to have stayed, but I am extremely excited for my future in pro wrestling. I am 24, and I look at this as my wrestling career just beginning. Now I get to show everyone how good I really am. I'm going to grind harder than I ever have before. I'm going to make as many towns as I can, meet as many fans as I can, and wrestle as much as I can until I am considered one of the best going today. Thank you all for all the support and kind words, and hope you all will continue to follow my journey. A's in the chat." As Cesaro made his way to AEW, now part of the Blackpool Combat Club, Bully Ray on Busted Open Radio gave his take as to why it didn't work out for him in WWE. The reason why Cesaro never got to that next level in WWE is he was too much of a pro wrestler, not enough of a sports entertainer. He didn't have that entertainment factor that Vince was looking for. Now once they put him with Sheamus had enough sports entertainer in him that Cesaro could play off of them, and they gelled very well together. Last night on Dynamite, Billy Gunn seemingly turned on his own sons in favor of the Acclaimed when he shoved Austin. On Wrestling Observer Radio, insight was given into the way this angle is possibly headed. They've been sort of building to that, where the whole comedy of the pairing was that Billy treated the Acclaimed like they were his sons and the other guys like, he was just annoyed by their stupidity throughout the whole thing. Yeah, so it looks like Billy Gunn with the Acclaimed. In the end, the Acclaimed are going to end up as babyfaces. I mean, it's very clear. Speaking on WWE's The Bump about the United States Champion, JBL said, "This kid Theory is so talented. He reminds me of Dick Murdoch. Dick Murdoch was one of the most talented guys in the world, and he would do crazy stuff just because he could, because he had that much talent. He'd dig himself into a hole and he'd figure out a way to get out of it. Theory is the same way. I mean, this kid has unlimited potential." With him set to defend his US title against Bobby Lashley on Saturday, it looks like Theory could end up facing John Cena after. Revealing goals for himself after becoming the Intercontinental Champion, Gunther told BT Sport that he has his sights set on the top of the mountain. Joining SmackDown or coming to the main roster in the United States, I didn't do that because I wanted to be a medium guy and want to achieve a little something and then leave there. No, I'm here to be the top guy, and that's what I'm going to aim for in the long term. I want to be the guy of the company. I want to be in the ring with the best the company has to offer. That's what I'm aiming for. Whatever way that will go, nobody knows. But that's what I'm here for. It's basically all or nothing. On the CEO Gaming Twitch channel, former AEW champion Kenny Omega spoke about storytelling in wrestling and how it's easier than ever to ignore. That is why I was confident doing everything throughout the Hangman story. That was a story about human lives. I feel as wrestling has progressed, it's become less about those, a lot. If we just become physical vessels that are supposed to throw each other at the wall until everyone goes kersplat and don't get up again, that's the kind of wrestling I can't do anymore. And when I have to know that it's time to pack it in, we're going there already, and there are people trying to convince you that those are the best matches and 5-star matches. We have to be careful. It's not to say it isn't possible. I just feel this entire generation is gearing towards that one side of things. Now that the athlete in wrestling is of a higher level and there's less emphasis on character and physical presence, as difficult as it is to be that athletic daredevil in the ring, we have so many gifted and natural athletes that it actually is the easier route. Peak satisfaction for a lot of fans is when they do get those storylines and when those storylines pay off. Maybe some fans have forgotten about that, but I would like to have the chance to remind them when I come back while hopefully still being able to deliver in the ring. In some positive news, Devon Dudley is now backstage in WWE following his procedure in 2021, as he wrote on Twitter. "This past Tuesday night was the first time back at work since my back surgery that took me out last October. Feeling great and glad to be back, but even more glad to be back at my new role in NXT. Love working with the new talent now. I thank God for this opportunity." Speaking about the women's division in WWE, The Undertaker had some high praise for the EST. The women's division is really, really good. Bianca Belair has only scratched the surface of the star she's going to be. She's got such an incredible personality. She's someone I really want to see succeed. Sticking with the Raw Women's Champion, she brought up her match against Sasha Banks at Mania, where she avoided saying her name during an interview with Sports Illustrated. "When I had the main event of WrestleMania with At WrestleMania 37, I was the first black woman to main event WrestleMania that night. It was recognized, and I wanted to be a part of it because we're not just WWE superstars, we are wrestlers, actors, we are icons. Belair also talked about her husband Montez Ford, saying right now he's in the tag team. He's one half of the tag team, the Street Profits, and they're doing amazing right now. Angelo Dawkins is his tag team partner. He's part of the fam. We were all fam together, we travel together. But I know my husband, and he has a lot of potential. And when you get somebody like The Rock to get behind you and say that they see that in him, it's just inevitable. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. I see it. Everybody else sees it. The Rock sees it. I'm putting it out there. My husband's going to be the next biggest thing in WWE in the future. During the main event of Dynamite, Santana seemed to suffer an injury to his left leg during the Blood and Guts match. Talking about the lead up to this, the Observer said you could see when he did the Uranagi, he just pretty much his leg gave out and he just collapsed. He crawled around and tried to do stuff, but he really couldn't do much of anything at that point. With AEW taping an episode of Rampage following the Blood and Guts match on Dynamite, many fans decided to go ahead and head home, according to the Observer. A lot of the people left. A lot of people left during the Nyla Rose-Toni Storm match, and heard the Bucks match with Yoshihashi and Goto that had a hard time getting the crowd, but because they had such a good match, they did get the crowd. The Royal Rampage Battle Royal, the crowd was very into though. 5 strangers recently figured out that not only are they all related, they're half-siblings to Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. The Rock's father, the late Rocky Johnson, apparently had many more children. Their names are Lisa Purves, Paula Parsons, Trevor Edwards, Adrian Bowles, and Aaron Fowler. Lisa, a filmmaker, first reached out to her biological father when she was 18, and years later at the age of 30, but was apparently hung up on. She's now making a documentary about this, saying, "I never wanted to run into Dwayne and have anyone know I was his bastard sister. We just want to be recognized. We sat on the back burner forever. Rocky was our dad just as well as Dwayne's." Trevor, who had been told he looked like Dwayne, was able to track down Ricky Johnson and use DNA testing to prove that he was his uncle. As Ricky said, "I hugged him and told him I loved him and welcomed him to the family." With WWE announcing that Logan Paul has signed a contract with them, Ariel Helwani noted some of these specifics on Twitter, saying it's going to include him possibly returning against Miz at SummerSlam next month, as he's also set to make appearances for premium live events this and next year. And this was your Pro Wrestling News Update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later.